Welcome back. Ooh, whoa, welcome back. Oh, welcome back to Line Podcast. My name is Aaron Alexander. Today's beautiful episode is with my friend, Miss Emily Morse. Emily is one of the original podcast OGs in the world of sexuality, podcast in general, actually. She is the host of Sex with Emily. She is a world-renowned sex expert, sexologist? I don't think she's a sexologist. I don't even know if that's a word. I don't know what that means exactly, but she has all sorts of tremendous information on all things sexuality, and we get into all that in this conversation. I know you guys are going to absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite conversations we've had on here. Thanks so much for checking out the website, alignpodcast.com, ALIGN podcast.com. On there, people have been digging the 5-day movement challenge. There's show notes on these episodes, getting into any kind of details, references, stuff like that, books that we mentioned. That'll all be at alignpodcast.com. I want to thank Blue Blocks for supporting this program. Blue Blocks is some of the steeziest blue blocking glasses you will encounter. Highly recommend utilizing some blue blockers for your life, especially during travel. If you're around any kind of blue emitting lights at night, like an hour or so before bed, they say a couple hours. I typically am more about an hour. But really, anytime, once the sun goes down, if you're being exposed, especially like LEDs, last night we went out and got ice cream, which that's an interesting decision in and of itself. It was like 9 p.m. There's all these LEDs and just terribleness. It throws you off. Going to a grocery store, all that stuff. You need to wear blue blockers during that time. If not, your body gets the signal that it's time to wake the freak up. You get juiced up with cortisols. You get down-regulated, or your production of melatonin ends up dropping because your body thinks it's wake-up time before you go to bed. Throw on some blue blockers. It's recommended. You can go to blueblocks.com/align for 15% off. BLUBLOX.com/align for 15% off. I greatly appreciate folks grabbing the Align Method online program. People have been really loving that thing. Comes along with the Align band, which is a heavy-duty resistance band, door anchor, all that good stuff. And you can start a 7-day free trial by going to alignpodcast.com/Align Method. All right, here we go. Back to the podcast with the Emily Morse. Pow.
Align Podcast.
What's the meditative aspect of masturbation for you?
It's more like a release. It's more like I feel, and the reason why I started that on the show is like we should meditate, and one of our listeners sent us a t-shirt because I think it makes sense. The truth is that we don't masturbate mindfully enough. And so for me, I feel like it's much more of like getting in my body. It's a release. It's pleasure. It's like I'm set for the day. It's rejuvenating. It helps with blood flow. It's, I think that a lot of, I don't often have to remind men to masturbate. They're like, I got that. I just did it. Like, I'm like, yeah, you were like supermarket. Like, you don't have to do it every second. But for women, it's like, we forget. We're like, oh, well, I already have a penis in my life, or I have a boyfriend, or I have a partner. I don't need to, or we just, I don't know. It's a different thing. But we realize the more that we masturbate, the more we're actually grounded in our bodies, and the more we become more skillful lovers to ourselves, and then we're able to be better lovers to others. Yeah. So it's really self-love.
Is there any setup for it, or can it be, I think a lot of people, masturbation, maybe especially for guys, maybe I can't speak for other people, it's kind of like utilitarian, just to like get it out of you.
Yeah, that's what I try to change, because I think that women are the same way too. Like, they're hit it and quit it, like they have their routine. Yeah. But I think, is there the setup for the masturbation for me? I mean, it depends. Like, yeah, I have days where I'm like, okay, I just got to get off. But I think so meditation always comes first for me. And then, so maybe I'll meditate, or maybe I'll masturbate, or some days just one or the other. But typically for me, it's more like the setup is, I don't know, I'm in my bedroom. You mean the actual setup? I'm in my bedroom. I got my toys. I got my lube. My lube on every nightstand is another one of my manifestos. Lube is just so underrated. You saw the Uber lube. You're like, oh, yes, there's so many great lubes.
You're abundant with lube here.
I'm abundant. You haven't even seen the sex toy closet yet. Like, wait till you, I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it yet. But I feel like, so yeah, we just forget that it's important. And then so many women, my show is all about helping people, with any sexual challenges they have. And a lot of people think they have a low libido, or they think they no longer want sex with their partner. And I think because we become so disconnected from our bodies, and so it's like we expect that we're just going to be on for sex because our partner showed up, but we're not. And we're like, what's wrong? Maybe I don't like him anymore, or maybe I'm in a weird, maybe something's changed. But it's because we're not staying connected with our body. So when you learn to breathe into masturbation and be connected and love yourself, you're going to realize that it's energy that's flowing through your body, and you'll be more ready for sex with yourself or with someone else.
It feels like in the modern world, sexuality and masturbation and I don't know what else, feels like they're like one of the only anchors that we have left to access like true humanity.
Yeah.
Like your deep biological animal self. There's all this other stuff of like we're focusing on work and focusing on taxes and my stereo system and like all this shit. And then there's like all this other stuff. Like we just finished doing a session.
That was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, we just did the best session ever. I'm just like, do I have my word faculty around?
Don't worry about it. Yeah. But it seems like that's like one of the few anchor points that we have left.
Meditation and masturbation, is that what you said? No, which
one?
Meditation. Meditation? No, just meditation.
No, sexuality.
Yes.
Masturbation.
Yeah.
It's like one of the few things that it's like, when you're having sex with somebody, your face does all these weird things and your body's in these strange positions and you're like, it's like everything all of a sudden becomes acceptable, or a lot of things become, unless you have a lot of shame around it.
Right.
Which I think that's an interesting thing to get into as well.
Many people do have shame around it. So they think it's funny. Well, maybe this is just because it's my job, and maybe people come to you for help when they're having pains and things are going on. But yes, sex should be, and what I would love to see sex as this amazing release and gift that we give to ourselves and others. It's like the most pleasurable thing on the planet. Like sex drives so much of our behavior. I mean, we're here because two people had sex, right? It's the foundation of everything. But yet it becomes so confusing and so challenging and so difficult. We have so many challenges around, we're too in our head during sex. We're not in our bodies. We have shame about those faces we make. So we just shut down in the bedroom and we don't know how to fully express ourselves when we're with a partner. And I think we give ourselves the short end of the sexual experience all the time. So really what I'm trying to do is get people to kind of talk about it. The first thing we got to do is like acknowledge that sex is something that's important to us and not put it on the back burner. Like people will work out every day and they might, eat and go to work, but usually our sexuality is something that we think is just going to take care of itself. Mm-hmm. And it just should be natural and should just happen and we should just feel it. And then we're really think we're broken if it's not, but it takes focus and concentration. Like everything else in our lives that we think is important and that everything we prioritize, for example, like eating or exercise or our spirituality is like stuff because we worked at it. But like for some reason, there's this notion that sex should just automatically be amazing and present. And if it's not, we think we're broken. But it's okay to focus on it and think about it and put the energy into it because that's what's going to come back to you. But I think we just kind of put it on the back burner, think, we'll get back to that when life isn't as busy. I'll masturbate or I'll have more sex with my partner once the kids go to college or whatever people think about. But it's like, no, it's a living, breathing entity in your life and in your relationship. So my main thing is just first acknowledge that and talk about it. Like that's why I always say communication is a lubrication. Mm-hmm. The more we talk about sex, the more it's top of mind, the better sex we're going to have.
So is there some way to start to integrate and infuse sexuality into more like holistically into your life so that it's not just this penetration? You're like,
oh, that's my, yes.
like we're doing sex.
Yeah, we're doing the sex. Yeah, my goal would to not look at sex as just, we call it PV sex or penis and vagina sex. Just sex is so, and some people don't even do that kind of sex. Many people don't. So I feel like to think of sex as you're moving through life and you're always keep your pilot light lit. So you're always in your sexual body. You're always breathing into your pelvic floor. You're always connected. Not that you're always rocking around like ready to have sex, but that it's always a part of you. So that when you actually, so that's one thing, is just to keep it like, how is my sexual health today? Am I breathing? Am I feeling sexy? Like a lot of times I hear, we don't feel sexy. Well, I just feel like I'm exhausted. I'm not. But like you always have the ability to like anchor yourself and be in your body and feel more sexy or sexual, I guess. But the other ways to, what was the other question? See, I'm
don't worry about it. You're just post body work, which is beautiful.
So good. We just did like acro yoga, body work.
I think it was so cool how Emily is like during the body work. You have like two modes. You have like deep introspection of your body, and then you have like podcast, Sirius, sex, whatever. Like you're a brilliant communicator, and then you shut all that shit off.
Gone.
And you go into your body.
Because I have to. I don't. So practicing what you're preaching. How great during the show when I remember to breathe, but sometimes I'm just talking, fast. So it's like
great. I find with people, it's interesting working with folks. I find it's a similar thing. You're just more. I mean, it's really beautiful watching you do it. But people, you cannot, in my experience working with however many people I've worked with, they cannot be in their intellectual kind of like material object mind, like speaking about concepts and ideas, and be working with themselves at a physiological level. Like they can't change their nervous system. They can't, if there's tension in their body and we're looking to unwind that tension there, I think it's, in my experience, it's almost impossible for them to be writing an idea and be able to actually work with their body at that level.
Exactly. And okay, so you're right. And that's where I dropped into it. I'm like, there was no thought about anything. I was just like in my body and breathing. And that's what I want people to experience sexually. And I would say that most people do not. And I would say the questions that I field my show is a lot of advice, right? And I would say that the top question I get asked is, why can't I focus during sex? Why can't I orgasm? I'm always in my head. How do I get out of my head? Yep. And so the thing about sex is it's such a beautiful opportunity to actually practice like what we did, breathing into your body. And I always tell people, it's exactly what you're saying. If you can't get out of your head, my tip for that is focus on your senses, your 5 senses. What am I feeling in this moment? What am I smelling? What am I touching? Oh, I'm touching my partner's body. I smell the candle. I'm listening to the music, or I'm listening to my breath. But the second you engage all 5, you are dropped into the present moment. Like you can't be anchored in your senses and in your head. So that's a practice that when you're having sex, or when you're even with your practice during masturbation. So that's the kind of masturbation that I practice, is just more mindful when I can, not just like trying to get off. And I would love that for men too. And then you bring that into your sex life. So I think, and if you have a partner who's willing to go there with you and be like, yeah, let's breathe together. Let's just make sure we're on the same plane, that your body will start to flow together and you won't be in your head because you're connected. Like that's the thing, is like sex is the most intimate thing that we can do on the planet. It's so intimate. It's so what we all crave, this connection, but yet we're all having very disconnected sex. And I mean by like, I don't know, maybe just the people listening to me, but I would say the majority of people are having mostly disconnected sex on the planet.
Is that where you came from? Is that why you're so interested in it?
Yeah, I came from the most disconnect. I did not know. I came to this field almost 15 years ago because I had a hunch that there was a lot more to sex than I knew. And I thought, if it's supposed to be so amazing, like I've had good sex, I've had great sex, but I thought, what is amazing, incredible sex have, and what don't I know, and how could I make that happen all the time? It was more like when I started the podcast, I wasn't the expert. I was just like asking everyone I knew and experts and doctors about what is it, and I realized I knew nothing. Like I learned nothing. I was all about men's pleasure and what they wanted. It was my pleasure came second, if at all. I used to fake orgasms. I didn't have as many orgasms. I didn't know how to relax into sex. I was much more I enjoyed it, but I've just learned so much about how it's the energy exchange and the give and take. And
why do you think that was? That you were focused on the other person?
First, I can tell you this. It's because I think that I'm not alone. I think that many women, I have my 19-year-old niece visiting me, and she and all her friends feel the same way. Like we are taught that it's about, I used to think that men got shipped off to some secret school when they were like younger, and that they learned all about women's bodies and pleasure. So when I went to have sex, I was like, oh, they know, because I don't have the keys to this kingdom. I have no idea. Yeah. Turns out they don't know either. But we used to, so I think it's just more like no one talks to us about it. So we start having sex, and some guy comes in, you're like 18 years old, he's pounding away at you and doing the jackhammer, and you're like, is this all there is, really? And I think now especially, the only sex people are seeing is in porn. So then they're like, oh yeah, it is pounding away. And that's made by men for men, from the male gaze, most porn. So I just think it's even worse now than it was. Like, so I think that's one I think it's just more like, no guy was like, hey babe, you come first, it's all about you, let me go down, let me please you. It was like let me make out with you for a second, maybe stick my finger and then put my penis inside you, and we're gonna start going. Like that's just how it always went. Because and men are not, cruel here, they just don't know either. So this is what I do every single day, why I'm changing the world one orgasm at a time. I'm just teaching people, like, everyone get in your bodies, figure out what you want, explain that to a partner. We're so afraid of it, though.
So what was the journey for you to start to take your power back with your sexuality as a woman?
My journey was,
if that's the right language,
yeah,
take your power back. I don't know. It sounds very,
yeah,
like,
I guess so. I guess, I think my journey was just like, oh, I'm going to take time off from relationships, and I'm really going to I've taken, I went back to grad school. I got my doctorate. I did somatic sex therapy training. I've done so many different kinds of things, modalities, and I really just, even though I'm always talking during sex, it really even became it was hard to learn about it, but I just started, I practice what I preach. I breathe during masturbation. I stopped using toys for a while and then figured out what I really liked. And then when I was in relationships, I would let them know in the most hey, this is what I'm into. What are you into? It means a lot to me if we I really like making out, or I really like words of affirmation is my love language. What's your, I think I just made sex more, I did everything that I talk about. I make sure I'm compatible with somebody and that they, we can grow and learn and just, I try everything, talk about everything. What have I done? It's been a long journey. I went to sex parties. I did everything literally. I tried so many things. I've been on a journey. So
after your perspective on sexuality from 15 years ago compared to now, how has that shifted?
Oh, I would say that I realized that we've only for me, I just realized, wow, I love what I do. And I think it's such a good time to be doing it, because what I realize is that most of the world, unless they've been listening to my podcast, they listen to the show, or they've been reaching out for information from other people, that most people are pretty much where I was 15 years ago, no matter what age they are. My listeners are 18 to 83. And that there's still this dearth of sex information and sex education in America, and people just aren't even seeking out the answers. So what I think is it's an amazing time right now, because people, I think it's a little bit more open now. People realize oh, there's some stuff I need to learn. But I think what my view of it now is that it's a really good time to be asking questions about sex and to be curious about it, because it's never too late, no matter where you're at in the cycle. If you're just starting to have sex, you've been in a relationship for 20 years, you can still heal that sex life. You can still make it great for both of you. And I just have a lot of tools for it. So my view on it has changed, that we have just all been because of religion, our culture, because sex is still taboo, because what we see, if we've been watching movies for the last 20, 30 years, all you see is man, woman, make out, fall into bed. They have explosive orgasms together and it's amazing. And the whole thing is 3 minutes. Yep. Or if we're watching porn, it's just, there's no lube, there's no warm up. They just go right to anal play. It's just all wrong. I feel like Wednesday Martin's book, it's untrue. Everything we have learned about sex is untrue. It is untrue. And we just need to, we have so much to learn, but it's not, and I also want to tell people it's baby steps. It might just be talking about it. It might just be saying, you know what? I realize that we've been together. We've never talked about sex. This is really uncomfortable for me. Might be for you too, but let's figure out let's try to make sex great, because it's supposed to be amazing. And so I feel there's just, I don't know. I hope people are more open to this now, because wherever you're at sexually, it's a full, and it is a mind, body, it's diet, it's exercise, it's, are you sleeping? Are you communicating? But I wonder,
what do you think what kind of questions should be asked? Because I think sometimes that's the thing, is there's all this information, but where should people start as far as what should we be asking?
Asking ourselves?
Yeah.
Should I ask ourselves, what do I like in bed? What makes me feel good? This is why the whole self-love, masturbation is so important.
Yep.
I think you should be thinking about, what are my other erogenous zones? And we are so limited in what we know for pleasure. I think that we should be exploring the fact that, so women have a clitoris. It has 8,000 nerve endings, and its only reason for existence is for female pleasure. And to know that it's not just that little bud, but it actually has legs that extend behind the labia. There's internal clitoral nerves, and that wherever, even if you're having orgasms and a lot of pleasure, you could have a whole lot more. So start peeling back the layers by, doing your own research. People binge on my podcast, or buy some books, or just figure out, or just, things, do research, and then also do research on yourself. So turn off your phone, light some candles, lock your door, and just start exploring, and not just going right for your own hot spots, but figuring out what feels good to me. Oh, I didn't realize touching my neck is really sensual, or just, playing with different parts of your body. I mean, we have such unlimited capacity for pleasure, and we only tap into like a very small percentage of it.
Yeah. Where do you think shame came from with sexuality?
I think a lot of it comes from, like where it always comes from is I think it's misunderstanding. I think a lot of it comes from culture and religion. I think that's where a lot of it started, is that it's really shameful to have sex out of wedlock, for example.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, honestly,
like, why do you think religion did that?
I think it has to do with patriarchy. I think that women's sexuality is the most powerful energy on the planet, the goddess energy. We're talking like thousands of years, right? That we are here, Mother Earth, like we are here because women give life, right? And I think it's also really scary. Like women can have there's all talk about what's untrue, that women aren't as sexual as men, and women don't want as many partners, and women are much more interested in monogamy than men. Like it's all bullshit. It's just that we've been repressed because I think it can be very scary. So the way to get control over women's sexuality, which can be very frightening because we have so much pleasure, we have so much love and so much capacity, is to start to take away some of our rights. And by doing that, it could be, current day, like abortion, our ability to get birth control, but also like back in the day, it's like we're going to become property of men. We're going to have to be sold to our owner, our husband, or we're going to be just start dialing back women's rights so we can overpower them. And I mean, do I think why? Probably for agriculture, probably for business, probably for anything, for egos. I think it's really scary. I think women's sexuality can be very frightening and very misunderstood. So I think the whole thing is like, let's just control it, lock it down, put it in this box and give them a pill. Let's give women a pill. Let's never talk about it. Let's be shamed. Let's not even talk about it in schools. Like, what we do in America? This is our sex education. It has not changed, okay? My niece, 19 years old, this is her sex education like last year, 2 years ago in high school, right? It's all fear-based. It's don't get pregnant and don't get an STD. Like literally that's all it's about. Yeah. It's fear-based. And then she saying she had a class where the women had to take home a baby, right? And like learn how to care for like some baby and feed it and stuff. Like not a real baby. Sorry. Like that'd be weird. They're like 16, but like a toy, like a baby, like a toy baby. Like a baby, freaking doll. But the boys didn't have to do anything. And then they had to write, all we had to do, and then we had to write like a paper on chlamydia. I'm like, that is not helpful. What we do need to be teaching in school is about pleasure. From a young age. I mean, we don't even, we feel like it's shameful. So why? It's religion. Maybe we got caught once with our, literally our pants down, or maybe we were touching ourselves when we were 3 because it feels good. And our parents are like, that's terrible, that's shameful, and then we get that message in our head that it's wrong. It's shameful. We shouldn't touch ourselves. We shouldn't have pleasure. And then our parents are saying, like, we do ask questions, and they're like, well, sex is when you love somebody and then you make a baby. And so let's just be real with our kids. Let's just have real conversations. I think that kids should be learning about their anatomy when they're young, like when they're in kindergarten. Not like this is your clitoris, but more like let's just start understanding our organs. Kids start liking boys and liking girls, liking other people when they're like in 3rd grade. Let's talk about what that means and consent. And
well, probably a lot of the teachers that are in charge of teaching the classes are all tied up in their own shit.
Right. They are.
Like I would imagine for the most part, the teachers teaching kids, 12 or whatever age year old kids are probably dealing with their own shame and their own stuff. And I wonder how their sex life is or how healthy they are. Right. Like there's no prereq with that. It's just like, okay, we'll give you these outdated textbooks, whoever you are, and you're just going to talk to the kids.
Right. And they're terrified. Yeah, exactly. That's where we're at though. It's
going to be awkward.
And that's why I take calls every night when people are like, what do I do with my kids? What do I do with my kids? And all my friends are calling me now, like FaceTime. They're like, she just came home. My friend's daughter's 10. She's asking me about puberty. Talk to Aunt Emily,
Yeah.
So I just do. I'm like helping, but I would love it. Like one of my dreams is to, and I'm working on it now, is like sex education for kids in schools. And I think it has to be outsourced. I think it has to be like a peer program where we're teaching older students to teach the younger students. I think it's just, the schools aren't going to do it because parents freak out. They're like, I don't want sex ed or masturbation or any of that. And I think it's because it's taboo. It could be religion, it could be culture, and it could because, like you're saying, even today, the teacher doesn't want to do it because they've never talked about it to anybody. So, and they actually don't know more than the kids. Yeah. I mean, you should believe, like, you have to understand, we get thousands of questions a week and it's all the same things. People, all ages, we just don't know, but we want to know.
So I wonder with particular parts in the body that a person may have shame around. Like I notice in my life, I've carried a lot of tension around my anus. And so, like, I'll be like, no, like, actually, even right now, I just released my anus.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Maybe everyone should do that right now.
Yeah. And so within that, everybody in the room is releasing their anus. So within that, and I think as well, I think I have shame around my anus because it's kind of like in my mind, hopefully that's evolving right now during this conversation, but it's like an ugly part of my body. So it's something, not a place that I'd like, if I wanted to turn, you on or sexual partner, I wouldn't be like, here's my anus.
Like the internal part of it, or just how it looks? Like
the whole thing. I mean, just it's like hairy. It's like, there's just it's not the most impressive place in my body. But again, it's all the eye of the beholder.
Right.
So I am the beholder in this case, and so I would create a little bit of tension and clenching around that area because my belief system is that it's not very beautiful.
Right.
So how would
you do
said
that?
person start to go in and start to create more beauty in their anus?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of people have shame around it. They do. They're like, oh my God, why? It's all for exiting. Or men are like, if I put anything in there, it's going to make me gay. Or why would I even want to pay attention to it? So I really think for you, I would say explore your prostate, because then you'd be like, it's my new best friend.
Right.
My anus. Because I think that men have such a limited, and this is also changing though, because like 15 years ago when I was talking to you about like, men, it doesn't make you, like a sex act does not make you gay. So if you are, the prostate is filled with nerve endings, and men can have like incredible orgasms.
I heard it's second to the clit.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, it is.
So it's more than the cock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The cock is the circumcised cock is 4,000 nerve endings. The clitoris is 8,000 nerve endings. And the anus is like a whole nother, the prostate, and it's good for you. It's like healthy, and there's like great, cool toys. Yeah. So I would say maybe if you started feeling pleasure around that, and I think mirrors are really helpful for anyone. If you have any like body shame or issues you don't love, I always tell women, like, when you're masturbating, and this goes for you and your anus, I would say bring a mirror and like take a look and like put your legs back and see what it does. Like, use some lube.
I'm gonna Instagram live it.
Instagram live your anal probing. That would be huge.
I think it's time.
You get 1 million followers.
I think the world's ready.
I'm ready. I want you to just release it, anus. You released it here, and now you're going to release it on the Instagram live. I just
re-released it while you were talking. It kind of started to clench up again.
Well, I think a lot of this, the reason it's one of the questions I get asked about anal is that, hi, Instagram live. They're all releasing their anus. But so much tension we hold in women. We clench too. We clench our pelvic floor. We're clenching our anus. But I think a lot of the challenge people have around any kind of anal play is that that's what we do. Something comes near us, we tense.
Yeah.
We tense. And so we're like, there's nothing pleasure. But when you like learn to breathe it, like, oh.
Right. Yeah. So what about other part? I mean, I'm interested in going deeper with the anus.
Yeah. Let's do it, babe.
So let's keep doing it, actually. Prostate. So bottoms, gay men, bottoms, they get less incidence of prostate cancer. But nonetheless, there's, again, all this shame wrapped up around anything that relates to the butt.
Right.
But it happens to be the healthiest thing that you possibly do for your body, from at least from the perspective of like cancer.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's really, really healthy. It is true. I guess bottoms, yeah. And I wish that bottoms would become tops. I think in the gay community, they're so like, I can only be a bottom or top.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you give more
I don't know
switches,
anything about that either. There's so much I need to learn, Emily.
I know. I'm here. Dude, you come to the right place. Do you see where you're at?
We're in Mecca.
Do you see all our books, all our toys? Yeah, I just think that we are all, here's what I think. When you said, what do I think about sexuality now? Yeah. I think that my mission on the planet, I say, like saving the world one orgasm at a time. I believe that if people just understood that, like wherever you're at now sexually, there is so much more out there for you to learn. Like if you think you're having great sex now, just wait till you really like are present and breathe and discover all these other places to play on your body. It's just incredible. And you're with like a partner who's equally open to exploring. Is just amazing what you could unlock, what you could unleash, what you could feel. I mean, people are still afraid of vibrators. It's like, oh, get over it. Like your body can't vibrate, but do you know what a vibration feels like in your prostate or on your clitoris or even on your forearm? It's just tingly, and your partner can do it with you. It doesn't like take away from it. There's a certain thing, like if you have to add something to the penis vagina, it's like not holy or something. It's like,
yeah, right.
What, people like what?
Unless you're a Mormon, then you just soak. You know about the Mormon soak?
Yes, I do know about the soak.
It's a good move.
You just soak with your penis. Oh my God, I just fell asleep. You know what I would do if I'd keep doing my pelvic floor muscles. I'd be clenching.
Oh, yeah,
how long
right.
you gonna soak in my? But yeah, the prostate. Yeah, there's a lot. See. Religion, and this is no shame. I get it though, but I also think that if people are the religion thing. I just want to say this, and then we can go back to the prostate. Mm-hmm. Is that I understand it. Like there's certain doctrines and certain things you heard growing up. And there's also people who don't even, like maybe they grew up and went to school that told them sex is wrong and all this stuff is wrong or masturbation is. But I think it's okay to become an adult and say, well, what still works for me? Does that still serve me, that belief?
Yeah.
Does it not? Well, I still have to go to church, but I don't have to believe it. I don't have to. I can still go to church and be, what she said in The Bachelor the other night, I just started watching The Bachelorette, Jesus still loves me, like, because he was shaming her for having sex with people. It's like, yeah, we all get to decide, like, our own way that we want to be sexual and not have it, we don't want it to be controlled. We're so worried about slut shaming and people judging us. That's where it all comes from. All of this shame around sex comes from judgment and slut shaming and being told that it's just wrong, that girls who sleep around are slutty or that we should wait till marriage. And there's just all these ridiculous rules around sex that is keeping us from actually exploring this beautiful, beautiful thing that we can experience with ourselves and others. And it just makes me so sad. So I want to be able to, like, for everyone just to break out of that.
Yeah.
Just start talking about it and exploring. Talk to your kids about it, even if it's weird for you. Just be honest.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy recently called Paul Check. People know him, obviously, from listening to my podcast. And he was talking about people that don't think that they are Christian. Not that there's anything wrong. Like, I'm pro Christ. Have you ever heard Christ means in the Dead Sea Scrolls? It means mushroom covered in God's semen.
No.
Have you heard that before?
I have not, but I wish. I'm so glad I do now. I heard this now.
Sumerian language. I might be making that up, but these are.
But something like that.
Google that. You guys have Google power. You can Google it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Google
Look up Christ mushroom covered in God's semen. See how that comes out.
No, I did not know.
Powerful stuff.
Wow. Yes.
But one of the things he talked about that I was like, damn, that's right. Like, you can't not be Christian in the society that we grow up in, being like Western culture, because it's so deeply infused in every aspect of everything, into the government, into the money, into your childhood, into your schooling system, into all of it. So you can say that I'm agnostic or atheist or Buddhist or whatever, but you're Christian. And within that, like, you learn at a young age, or at least I did, my mind, because you're trying to piece things together, is that there's like this long white bearded man wearing a robe, like standing up in the side of your bed, judging your anus.
Right.
So if you're in there like jerking off or doing something strange, like, there's this awareness that there's this deity being, and they're just like, nodding their head in disappointment. And that starts from such a young age.
Such a young age. And that's such a great picture, because that is still what we hear all the time. Women are like, I don't masturbate, it's wrong, or it's still that message. Like a friend of mine's been married for like 15 years and she wants to try something like sex. She's like, I just feel guilt. She's like, I kind of want to watch porn with her husband. She's like, there's still, and it goes back to her upbringing, and we don't even realize, that's the thing, we don't even know that it's friggin' there. Mm-hmm. So I think to overcome, like you were saying, is to realize that, like, I'm giving myself pleasure. Like, if you have to breathe through it and like look in the mirror and see your body and like loving up your, I mean, you probably talk to you about body image and self-esteem and how do you get there. It's like, it's an inside job, and however you can like connect it.
Is that a prostate reference?
Yeah. It was a confidence reference. Self-confidence, but prostate is too.
Yeah. All right.
We can help you with all of it.
Yeah. What about the in-between spaces between the cock and the anus, or the vagina and the anus?
The perineum.
Mm-hmm.
Is that literally the in-between space?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not the metaphor. Like, I was like, is that metaphorically, or do you mean the perineum? Yeah, that has that's a good starter point. Like, for a man, if you want to kind of explore there, or the taint, as we call it.
The taint.
Because if you apply pressure there, you have like indirect stimulation to all those nerve endings. So just like putting a thumb up there.
And you got the $1 million point.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Right. Right. Feels good. Have you explored?
Yeah, I haven't ejaculated for, I don't know, 2-3 weeks. I usually do like twice a month.
Okay. How's that? Okay. Wow. Yeah. So how's that going? How long have you been doing that practice?
I don't even know how long. Like a while. Like years. I'm not sure. 5 years? I don't know. I read, what's that book called? Multi-Orgasmic Man?
Multi-Orgasmic Man.
Montag-Chia.
Yeah. That's a great book. I used to always recommend that, and then I felt like it was difficult for some people to.
Oh, I like it. It feels like biblical to me.
Yeah. No, the Multi-Orgasmic Man is a great. So tell me, what made you read that book? Were you having some...
Oh, premature ejaculation. I was a premature ejaculator.
Okay.
It was a bummer.
Yeah. No,
and I'm circumcised as well, which is like, people talk about like, oh, like poor men with their circumcision, they can't feel. I was like, I'm trying to figure out how to unfeel. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Wow. So from the first time you had sex, probably.
No. So it was interesting. I was with one specific partner who was like one of the more meaningful partners in my life, which I think had like, there was some like trauma scarring around that.
Yeah.
Where we had like great sex for like years, and then something happened that new pressures or something happened in my psyche or my cock or my somewhere, that all of a sudden I couldn't hold back. And then there was like this new compounded pressure, which is stuff that you know about, deeply, of like, now you have the pressure of going into it, knowing that that's going to happen. And then it's like, it gets worse and worse and worse, and it's compounded, and it's like, and then I was just like, good for nothing sexually, which even that belief system being good for nothing, that's like a big problem.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm so proud of you, because this is what I tell men. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's like Taoist sex principles. Like, the less you ejaculate, you can learn to have an orgasm without ejaculation.
Yeah,
which sounds like you've
50
learned
to
that.
250 million sperm in a single load.
Yeah.
Can I say load?
Yeah, you could.
That's appropriate. I guess it's my podcast.
It's your podcast.
Fuck it.
Okay, we say load. Yeah, but no, you're right. So how long? So you're saying from that now you have totally, you don't, because I always tell men, I get every day I get a call about premature ejaculation. It's like, okay, it's a practice. Are you ready? Like, you don't want to
talk about it. It's again one of those things that you don't want to talk about, because you're not. That's like one of the biggest kind of, I don't know, scars on a man's ego is if you're a premature ejaculator.
Yeah.
Even that term. Oof.
I know.
Hurts.
It does hurt. And men are like, anything with their penis is just like destroying. It's like, yeah, they literally feel emasculated. If there's anything they can't perform, they can't provide, their partner can't have an orgasm, they have to blame themselves. But yeah, premature. So you're saying now every few weeks, and then you can have an orgasm without ejaculation, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I think it's better
You read the whole
that way.
book all the way through. Yeah.
Yeah. So so essentially the thing is, like, I'll ejaculate almost for like medicinal purposes. I'm like, okay, I think this is appropriate. Like, it's built up enough. Like, I think we should get it out.
Right.
Or I'm good with ejaculating inside of my partner.
Right.
In any form, essentially. I just don't feel like I don't want to waste 250 sperm.
Right. But how do you feel? How did you feel more clarity? Do you feel more energy when you don't? ejaculate?
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. So you don't have what is the hormone that's you get a bunch of it after you ejaculate. It's like
oxytocin, prolactin?
No, prolactin. Yeah. You don't get that like prolactin surge. You're like, ugh, I just want to like eat a hoagie and like fall asleep and just like do nothing with my life for the next 3 hours. So you just bypass all of that and you get to have all the sex. I even find sometimes it's an interesting thing to have sex and not even go to that point of, which I think maybe this isn't advice for anybody. This is just something that I've done that I found interesting. You can go too far with it where you like ejaculate.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking
that's
about?
true. Yep.
And then it's kind of still like a pseudo ejaculation. You're still a little bit that stuff. So I prefer not to go to that point.
Okay.
And a lot of people, if you just go straight to the $1 million spot, you'll still have a little bit of that like sleepy type feeling, but it's much less.
Okay.
And they talk about that in the multi-orgasmic man as well.
We have it on the shelf, you guys. This is where you got to come on my show and talk about. Like, how long did it take you to get to that point where you...
Any guy can get to that point literally right now. It's really not complicated. That's why it's called the $1 million spot. So you can, as you're getting close to ejaculation, you can just put your hand underneath that like perineum area. It's kind of like a soft spot. So just like right behind the balls, essentially. And so you put your hand up in that area, essentially creates like a vacuum seal. And so where you would ejaculate, your body the pressure won't allow it to go forward. Right. And then you just hold that until it goes back.
But that's not where they would start. Like, if the guy's been a premature ejaculator his whole life, he's not going to like be like, cool, go into sex tonight and then be like...
So the process with that, so that I'm just saying you can stop yourself from ejaculating right now.
Right.
But then the process that I found really helpful was not taking sex like it was like, the Olympics. And it's not like there's all this pressure of like, so having sex and penetration, making that be more something that's like, being comfortable with just hanging out and breathing and like, cool, like we're doing this and, I'm inside of you and that's great, and now I'm not, and that's fine too. There's not this just immediate like, okay, on, and like, oh, here we go.
This is exactly what I was starting to say earlier, is that my other dream, I do not want sex. I wish that sex wasn't so linear. Like, it's all the build up towards penetration, which is what we see in movies and porn. It's all about penetration, where sex could be this like totally fluid, like maybe you're just like making out and touching each other and oral sex and just playing, sensory play. It's not like you could have some penetration then pull back. Like, I wish that people just realize sex is just touching and movement and sensations and not about the...
Well, ideally it's a vehicle for connection. and not just busting a nut, but for the most part, you have all this energy for a guy that wants to like get your thing off, but ideally, like I was thinking about this before I came over here. I did a yoga class, and at the end, a bunch of people leave before the Shavasana part, the corpse pose, or you lie there and like all the teachers like, this is what it's all about.
Right. Where are you going?
Like, here we go. Like, and everyone's just like, all right, I'm out. Like I did my asana, like I got sweaty, like I'm good.
Right.
We have a similar perspective on sexuality where it's like we want to get like the asana, like get the movement stuff out, and then we kind of skip out on like the meaningful part, which is a vehicle for connection, I think.
Exactly. No, it is. Yes. We need to all. I wish that we had more connection sexually. Like, there's nothing worse than someone just like comes and like roll over, falls asleep. Like, that's just like, what? No, aftercare.
Yeah.
After connection.
I guess with that, you have to be with a partner that you actually give a damn about.
That's true.
And you're not just trying to fuck them.
It's exactly, which can happen too. I get it. Nothing wrong with sport fucking, but if you want to go deeper, there's other paths to pleasure.
Yeah. So how's your love life presently?
My love life presently is...
I'd imagine that's something you talk about.
I do talk about it, but you know what's funny? It's been... I've been focused. This is going to sound silly, but I've really been focused the last few months on like loving myself more, in the sense of I was so focused on my work, and I was in a relationship and we broke up, and I was like, I looked up, and I've been doing this for so long, bit of a workaholic. I was like, I'm going to I worked on like making my home a home. I lived in a place for like 2 years. I have a lot of furniture in it, like making more friends, making my life really full.
Yeah.
And I haven't been focused on it until like very recently.
Why do you think that is?
Because I've always been in something a lot of times in my life. And I just think I felt like I was at this turning point in my life where I hadn't caught up to where so I didn't even really talk about this on my show, but I feel like I still had work to do. So what I did years ago, I used to always be in one relationship, go from one to the next. And then it's really important when you go through a breakup, I believe, or you end a relationship, to spend time on your own and figure out, like, what did I learn from this relationship? I think we do such great work in relationships if we choose to. And then after the relationship, what did I learn and all that stuff? And then I realized, like, I just needed to, I feel like I wasn't ready to get into anything else until I cleared up some of my own stuff that was still going on, like family stuff. I went back to I did some EMDR therapy the last 7 months. It's like amazing work.
Yeah.
Where it's like reprocessing things, trauma, and just learning to take, I don't know, building a home, building a life, and I don't know, it's just been a different time. So it's interesting. It's like, yeah, I just haven't been. So my love life previous to that was great, fun. I don't know. Right now it's different. I'm a different person. This is what I was saying. I haven't caught up to where my life was. My life is in a really good place. Like a lot of things I've been working for.
Do you feel pressure to have like this illustrious, crazy, amazing, some form of... I noticed as I asked that question, you like dropped your phone. You're like, oh
God. No, you know what it is? I don't anymore, because I've been doing this for 15 years. So I'm not like, if you go back and listen to the last 5,000 podcasts, like, I've had sex. I feel good about my work. I know what I'm doing. It's not, and the thing is, the show's not even really about who I'm dating and what I'm doing. But no, I don't feel that pressure at all. I feel like I'm setting a really good example too by really taking the time. I was like, I don't even want anyone in my home right now. I don't want anyone in my body. I just want to like do this important work, catch up to where my life is. I'm so freaking grateful right now where I'm at in my life, because I've built this dream company, like from a podcast 15 years ago where no one fucking knew what that was.
Yep. And
into like where I had the most amazing loving team that I don't think I could have had if I was focused on building a relationship the last few months, the last whatever. And I get to help people do what I love every day. I've got a national radio show, which was like a dream. Everything's really good, but my life felt sort of like I need to like nurture, take care of myself, and now I'm coming out of that.
Do you think that your home is a representation of other things beyond
Absolutely.
Just the house?
Yeah, my home was, I think our home is like, we're grounding, where you ground, where you nurture yourself, where you want to come home and you want to feel at peace, and you want to feel like you're surrounded by everything in your house should be things that you pick, that you love. And I like, and it wasn't, my home would become a place of like stress for me. It'd become a place of like, I don't know. I just wasn't making, I didn't have, it's hard to explain. I wasn't creating, and I wasn't making time. I wasn't prioritizing making a home. I'd never done that before, really.
Why do you think that is?
I think my childhood was very chaotic. I know why it is. I've had a lot of therapy lately. I grew up in a very chaotic household growing up where I was very much independent and I had to take care of myself. And I've been working since I was 14. And it was chaotic, like parents divorced. And so I didn't know how to like nurture myself. I didn't know how to like make a home comfortable because I never experienced like, home was never safe for me growing up. Home was never the place that I came home to and I was like, mom and dad, like, no. So for me, it was always being out, like running, like working and doing things and working out and being with friends. But then I finally like moved into this dream house and I was like, I don't know, where do I start? Like, okay, I have a day off. I'm going to go to like, restoration by myself. I don't know how to put, I don't know. It just became this other stress. So I didn't know how. I realized it was chaos. And then what I did in my therapy is I realized that having a lot of busyness in my life became a coping mechanism to distract me from actually feeling things and being my body and connecting to my fullest potential.
Yep.
So once I realized that I was like on my house, and it wasn't like horrible. Like I had a couch. My house is great, but it was like it wasn't filled with stuff that I felt safe.
Any house with a couch is respectable.
Right. I had a couch and TV, which I don't watch, but I was like, okay. One night I was there and I was a little sick, and I was like, wow, I've created like I have nothing. I don't have food in the refrigerator. Like it was just this. I'm recreating my child. People say like you marry your father, or you marry your. You do recreate patterns from childhood until you realize they're not serving you, and you got to do something drastic to get out of it. So it's like, oh wow, this isn't what I want, and this is I'm going to take the time and ground in, and I don't know. Now I have a beautiful home, and
would being in a more like grounded feeling home make you feel uncomfortable, you think, at that time? Like you'd find some way to kind of like sabotage it or erase that?
I didn't even know how to I didn't know, maybe it would, but it's funny, I used to joke because when I did it, my friends were like joking, this was years ago in San Francisco, they're like, oh, does he have a really big TV? Because I used to joke, I was like, is he really big? And like the punchline was like TV, because I'm like, oh, we just sit on his couch and watch TV. Like I always loved being at my boyfriend's houses or like not at my own, because I was like home was stress for me. But I couldn't get out of it. I just thought I was bad at it. Like I don't know, I didn't make the connection. So now I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I've got my work and my home life. Like now I'm like, I don't know, I just feel more grounded. And I think we go through these different periods in our life where you just, hopefully you do your work and you keep sinking in and you get rid of what wasn't serving you. It wasn't like a huge problem. Like everything was fine. And to me, it became like really loud.
Yeah.
It was like really loud, like ground yourself, make a home, like make it your own, like come home from work and be like chill. And now I have this meditation space and it's just all sunny and it's great.
Yeah, that's why I think like you got to give your vagina a home.
Yeah. The vagina, exactly.
It needs a home.
I was like, make the bedroom the sexiest, fucking hottest bedroom you've ever stepped into.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking with like the set and setting, which is like a psychedelic term, but set and setting for your masturbation.
Oh, what I do for have a set and setting.
You need it. Yeah, well, like that's what the initial question was like, how do you set it up for like a good self love session or whatever the best terminology is?
Yeah.
Because I think if you're in a place that feels dry and barren and kind of isolated, it's like you can be, flicking your bean or whatever.
It doesn't matter. Like get it done. But now I have like candles. I have an outdoor, like I open the doors. I have like this outdoor deck patio, and it's like an extension of my bedroom, and I play music and I light candles, and my toys are all organized and charged, and they're like it's just much more like I play music. I've got the whole and I have my house up now. They have little beds everywhere, couches. Like I have people over. I'm like, I want everyone to feel like they could just chill out, comfortable, have sex, have drink. No, I don't know. Not everyone have sex in my house, but like I just want it to be that environment, what I would want. I built a space that's what I would want.
Do you feel like you've been able to heal that stuff in relation to your childhood, in relation to like home and parents and such? I don't know what the story is huge. Exactly. But.
Yeah, I think I have. I mean, it's not like, believe me, I've been in and out of therapy probably for my whole life. I've been very much like a seeker.
Yeah.
I've done meditation, silent meditation retreats and therapies, different kinds of modalities. I don't think you're ever truly done. I'm done for now, I think, but I think you're always peeling back the layers of the onion. So for me, I love this work. I love that I'm a therapist, but then helping myself, helping others. When I become healthier, then I can even become healthier for my listeners, and for the people I'm helping. So, but yeah, I think I've healed it. I'm pretty impressed with myself right now. The work I've done.
What about squirting?
Yeah. Yes. I vote yes on squirting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
What do you want to know about it?
Well, first, can anyone access
emotional trauma? Tell me about squirting.
their squirt power? And is it a healthy, beneficial thing to do? Is it a neutral thing to do? Is it a
It's
detrimental
neutral.
thing?
Let me tell you about squirting.
Okay.
Okay. 10 years ago, so I said I've been doing this for 15 years. 8 years ago. No, I would even say 6 years ago. 0 people asked me about squirting. It was not even a thing. No one was like, "Can I squirt? How can I squirt?" And then apparently in every single porn right now, people are squirting, and like they're having sex and they're bringing their friends and then they're all squirting. So now everybody wants to know how to squirt. And yeah, it's a real thing. Women can ejaculate. Yes, there is urine. There's traces of urine from the periurethral fluids. It's fine. Who cares if it's all urine?
But it's not all urine.
It's not all urine. But even if it was, people are so tripped up. But it's not all urine. There are traces of urine.
Yeah.
But it is from a different duct, a periurethral fluids. And so for women, it's mostly through stimulating like your G-spot. Having really strong, working your pelvic floor is so important always, just for life, not just because you want to squirt. But the stronger your pelvic floor is, and then applying pressure to like your pubic mound and G-spot. For women, you can learn to squirt. Now, some women can squirt, and it's like with orgasm. They're like, "Oh, I had an orgasm. I squirted. It was amazing." And some women just squirt without orgasm, and some women just squirt. I don't know. And I do think it can be like a release, and it can feel great. And I don't think it should be a goal just because your partner wants you to. I think if you want to, that's awesome. Learn it and see how it feels for you. But I don't think it's like not like prostate. Like there is more of a maybe a health benefit. But sure, like figure out to squirt. But there's not like this major like that I've heard of, like it's a great benefit for women to squirt all the time.
So what's the squirt recipe? Like how step 1, 2, 3.
Step 1,
which is G-spot. Was invented by a guy.
No,
Albert
he
Greffen,
friggin' named it. And let me tell you about fucking Grafenberg. Fuck him. He didn't even have a G-spot. And I don't even want to call it a spot. If anything, I want to call it an area. I want to call it like the gray area. Like I don't even want to take away the G. It's an area. It's a G area. Okay. It's not a spot. When you tell it's a spot, everyone's like, "I don't know that spot. Where's my spot?" It's an area. And maybe it's part of your internal clitoral nerve endings, or maybe it's a G-spot. Like just funny, just feel around that area. Like, so I think the big step is just to like be turned on. Maybe you knock out a clitoral orgasm, you're already turned on, and then you're with yourself or a partner and your like legs are back, and you can use a finger, you can use a toy, you can use a dildo, and you just apply like direct pressure to the G-spot. Apply pressure,
the area,
pressure to the
not
area.
The G-spot,
See?
the area.
It's gonna take years to rewire this. The G area,
patriarchal,
and you just
bullshit.
apply. It is. I know. I mean, we should go off on the. I love the patriarchal men, women. I love all of us. We didn't know any better to give up our rights.
And the pubic mound, you got to press on the mound.
The pubic mound is magic. Like
I didn't know this.
because it's indirect. Yeah, so the pubic mound is indirect stimulation to your G-spot. So I know when I first started having sex, I was like always pressing on that. I was like, why am I doing that? But that's for me. That helps me with like orgasm.
I do that with my cock too to put more blood into it.
Yeah.
I put it on my own pubic mound.
There you go.
I've done that for years.
And then
I never
also
even thought about
the
that.
magic
I'd do the same with a woman.
Yeah, same thing.
Damn.
Same thing.
Wow.
And the prostate, I would explain to you how to find your prostate the same way I would explain to you find the gray area.
And to squirt, you need to push, from my understanding.
Push.
No, push out.
Yeah,
like
you're
pressure.
pressure out.
Yeah.
Doing your Kegels, pressure out. Pubic mound. A lot of women through using the magic wand on their pubic mound,
Right.
and then and just like releasing and letting go, and not being afraid if it is and you just like kind of you just stimulate. It's different for everyone. I mean, I don't know. You want me to walk you through? I mean, I think it's do it with a toy, do it with a partner, use a lot of pressure, use a finger, use a toy, pressure, work your Kegels. Important. They're the muscles that contract and relax for orgasm.
How do I find my prostate?
Okay. Gosh, sex 101. All right. So you want to lay back. You want to be comfortable.
Okay.
Maybe you want to already orgasm. Maybe you want to like get yourself turned on, or you don't want to have to ejaculate. But you just want to. So what you do is you want to make sure you use a lot of lube. Have a lot of lube by your nightstand.
I like that sirens go off as we're talking about the prostate because it's illegal.
And you want to make sure. I know, right? It's
We
not
didn't add
illegal.
that in. That was,
I love that
that
you're
was the
showing
universe.
this to your listeners. That like you're
universe.
like, oh no, it's so healthy. Look at you. You're like a healthy man. Like and you lay back and you would use a finger, or a partner could use a finger, or you could use a toy, and you just kind of start slow with like a pinky, put it inside. I mean, you could even start to just, if you're with a partner, or you're with yourself.
Oh, you're asking me?
I don't know.
With myself, because I still have some anal shame that I'm working on.
Oh, okay.
But so ideally,
Anal
we'll
shame.
get to the point, maybe this week even.
Right.
After this conversation.
Oh my God.
We're gonna get some fingers in my bum after this, I think.
Yes.
I'm ready.
I feel like you are. So then, just take a look. Take a mirror even.
Yeah.
That's gonna help with your shame.
Oh yeah, and the Instagram live.
And the Instagram live that everyone knows doing. I forgot we were on Instagram live. How many people are watching us?
Don't worry about it. It's all good.
I'm just okay. So you want to okay. I'm just hold on. This is like beeping. So you want to make sure that you are relaxed and you're breathing.
Yeah.
So what happens is like we were saying when you get to you like tense, right?
Yeah.
So you want to like put a finger inside. You could use just like your pinky finger or whatever finger feel. Probably it helps use like a middle finger inside. And it's the same thing that I tell. So what you want to do is you put your finger inside and it's more of like applying a pressure. It's not like you're going in and out, but you're just sort of feeling around in there. And you're going to find like a spot, like kind of like I explained about the G area, like there's like a rough patch and it's in towards your belly button, the little spot of your prostate. And then you're just going to want to like apply pressure to it, moving your finger around and just kind of like seeing what it feels like. And not.
This shouldn't make you blush. This is.
You're just staring at me so much.
I'm visualizing. I'm trying to pay attention.
Okay. So
trying to learn.
And you want to like breathe, lay back and put your legs back maybe and just use the thing and you just like it. So you have never done it.
No, I do it regularly. This isn't for me. I have a fucking prostate vibrator.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's great.
So does this?
But I told you, I think I need a bigger one.
Should we show them right now? Do you want to get one out of the closet?
Let's get some out of here. I think it's time.
Yeah.
I think I'm ready to graduate.
You're gonna die. You tell me. So
I found using the prostate massage along with masturbation is actually really helpful for tapping into that. Like I always found like the whole full body orgasm stuff to be very elusive.
Yes.
But the prostate actually kind of like turns that on.
Right.
In such a way that I wasn't really able to access through my cock.
Right. So having the prostate organ, which you have had now, is incredible.
And it's interesting as well because it almost feels like you're able to like continue the orgasm. Yeah. So like whereas like you'll feel like you're at the edge of ejaculation, but you can kind of it's almost like like I think I'm going to, but no, I don't think I'm going to, and you can kind of like float in that area longer.
Yeah. And
where when it's all cock centered, it's like there's like a volcano at the edge of your penis.
Well, that's the thing. It's like taking away from your cock. So you already have an erection, right, when you're doing this, and you kind of get to like a level 6. You're about to ejaculate. This is like my beginner tips, and then you go in with like a finger or this toy that we're going to show you in a minute.
I can't wait. Are we going to use it?
Are we going to use it?
Just bring
me a few.
Do you know Jason Ellis?
Yes.
If this was Ellis's show, it would be in my butt.
I know, probably. I don't do hands-on stuff like you just did hands-on for me. So you want to just insert it first, like slowly to the knuckle. I'm just telling your listeners because I don't feel like I was very accurate, but I also have a great podcast on my site. Who was just on talking about anal? Just go to my website. I don't remember. So yeah, okay, well, do you want me to get, Jamie's not here. And Neros, up there. Sorry, honey, yes, all those.
I don't think I'm ready for the black one. Oh, look at that.
Vibrating Kegel.
Wow, it's red.
No, this is the Kegel one.
It's for the Kegel. Eneros.
Same one.
Oh,
no, maybe not.
G-spot. This one.
Not G-spot, prostate.
So right now we're pulling out various different penetratory apparati.
Okay.
We've got the Eneros.
This doesn't have vibration, but this is... this is for women too. There we go.
Boom, there it is.
Vibrating. This is the winner of Outstanding. This was last year. My friend.
Can you describe
Forrest.
it?
Okay.
What's the shape?
Yes, I'll tell you everything. But if you go to my website, I can't remember the name. It was with Forrest from Aneros. It was a great podcast we did, and he talks all about this. So, this is it's called the Vice. It's a vibrating male G-spot stimulator. High medical grade silicone, and orgasms are so how it works is like it's very much shaped like the should we take it out?
Yeah,
like the prostate. Is this like the one that you've had?
When we do yours, we can do an instructional.
I'm so excited for you to be on my podcast now. You're like my total guy. So you could use it without. So is this bigger than the one you have?
It's about the same size, but I'm down.
Have bigger,
I'm
dude.
down to.
Kristen's just newer here with the prostate toys. We have so many. So this is a little vibrator.
Oh dear God,
dude! No, that's just half of it.
You have butt plug or
I have
penetrate
butt plugs, too.
apparatus the way that I have supplements in my
Yes.
cabinet. It's like literally we're like living mirror lives,
Yep.
but yours is just
Exactly.
ever so slightly skewed.
And so I tell you, I know, ever so slightly. It's okay, honey. We'll get him. I'll show him after.
We're good. I'm going to have to get a picture of that I'll post onto the Instagrams.
We'll do it.
It'll be good.
So this goes inside, right? And the great thing about a Neros is that when this is a vibrator that goes in it, it's not turned on right now. But like what's so great is that this goes in the prostate, right? And there's our directions. You have to go slow and make sure you're warmed up. But these levers act as like a pressure point. So there's pressure points like this is inside of you, but then also the way you're like steering it. It's like a steering wheel, so you can kind of move it, and then ever so slightly, this is hitting your perineum.
Right.
This is hitting other points, and you can even twist it over. There's all these pressure points that
It's like you're
hitting.
steering a boat.
You're steering
catamaran.
a boat, right?
Yeah.
And then we have a few others. Oh, it has a battery. Can I? Anyway, so use a lot of lube. Make sure you're already turned on. Go slow. And also, you might want to, if you've never done any prostate play, you might want to use a butt plug.
Where are we at on time on this? Do we need to wrap this thing
How
up?
long
I
are
feel
we
like you
going?
have like a life that you need to
I
attend
do.
to.
I just have 4 hours more of podcast today.
We should wrap this thing up. We'll do it again.
We will.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was so fun. Well, you got to go, and then we're not done because you got to go shopping in the sex toy
I'll
closet.
go shopping. Yeah, I can't wait. This is going to be really exciting. How do people learn more about you? Where do people go?
Okay, so Sex with Emily everywhere. Instagram. Go to sexwithemily.com. We release 3 podcasts a week. I am on Sirius XM Radio, LA Drive Time, Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific, 8 to 10 East on Stars 109. And my podcast is available 3 times a week wherever you listen to podcasts. It's at Sex with Emily on Instagram and all social media. And if you have any questions, you can call into the show, even if you don't have Sirius, or you could also send me a question, feedback at sexwithemily.com. We've got tons of blogs and posts about literally everything we've talked about here. We have 15 years of information on our site. So
Cool.
Find me. Come say hi.
I love it so much. I've been really enjoying getting to deep dive into your stuff, and upon observing you, which sounds creepy saying it like that, it's very apparent that you care very deeply for people. And so when you're communicating with folks, it's like very obvious that you want to promote them and you want them to succeed and you want them to feel well and feel welcomed. And
Yeah, I
like,
do. I do.
Yeah, so that
you.
was something that I noticed in your conversations with people. You're
You mean
very
my staff and stuff? Or?
no, that too. But I'm saying
on
in
the
listening
show.
to your podcast, it was just something that I noticed that I thought was very cool.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind.
Yeah.
And thank you for my incredible body work. I feel shifted and
Good.
different and grounded, and like that was amazing. Acro yoga and
Yeah. It was interesting in the beginning. It was fascinating to watch you try and put your like Emily back on.
Yeah.
It was very cool. There was a couple
Emily went away for like an hour.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I noticed there was a couple like breaths and a couple kind of like eye opens of like, okay, like get
Here we
back
are.
here.
Back
I
in
gotta
the
go
seat.
like
Back
that.
in the seat.
Who's Emily again? Oh right, fuck. Okay, butt plugs. Let's go.
Okay. Prostate massage,
Right,
really?
yes, okay.
Okay. I can do it. Thank you. This is such a gift. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for listening. Over now.
Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I want to present y'all with a fun opportunity of starting a program that I created called the Align Method Online Program that focuses on unwinding the unsightly patterns of staring into technology, essentially. So forward head posture, rolled forward shoulders, hyperkyphotic spine, disengaged glutes, knees collapsing in. If there's collapse in any level in the body, it will trickle up and down through the rest of the system. And that program focuses on unwinding those things, giving you self-care practices, movement practices, and lifestyle adjustments, very subtle ones, that will give y'all more flexibility, more strength, more confidence, more energy, all the good things. And you can start the first week absolutely free, and just go to alignpodcast.com/Align Method, ALIGN method. Along with that, guy, you will receive the Align band, which is a heavy-duty resistance band with a door anchor, and that also comes with its own online program that is free with that thing. Go to alignband.com and start that program for free. I think that's it. I so greatly appreciate you guys listening to this conversation. So greatly appreciate reviews on iTunes, sharing on the Instagrams or the Facebooks or wherever you do your shares. This program lives on because of y'all. So it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for listening. Thank you for reviews. Thanks for joining your life. Enjoy.